What's going on, team? It's Caddy with Money Vesting. I hope that you all are having an amazing day. So in this video, we will be talking about Netflix, ticker symbol Nflx, and I'll cover three things in this video. The first one, we'll go over their earnings call today and how well they did in the second quarter of 2020. Then we'll dive into some of their key metrics and other pieces of news for the company that's going to get priced into the stock. And then finally, we will do a technical analysis on Netflix stock and where are those key support and resistance levels and where can we potentially see the pattern going in the near future. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like. It really helps out with the channel. Also, subscribe if you're new and make sure that you hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future market updates and videos related to investing and technical breakdowns. So Netflix's earnings were announced today right after the market closed, and they sent kind of mixed signals on the street, and the stock took a huge dive after hours, down almost 11%, trading as low as $450 per share. You guys can see this big 5-minute candle right at 4 p.m. when the stock essentially went down close to 12.55% from its highs of $530, around that level where it closed at $527, all the way to trading as low as $450. So it dropped close to about $60 to $70 in a matter of 5 minutes. And I'll go over why that happened. But essentially you can see that after hours is just trying to make its way back up. And the RSI is also kind of pushing up a little bit. It was very oversold right at that 4 p.m. level when we saw that huge drop, and the MACD also started to kind of curl back in, and you can see how we're down just about 8.5% after hours, and right now it's trading at $482 per share. So I've broken down their earnings into 4 categories: the revenue, the earnings per share, the subscriber growth, and the net income. So when we talk about the revenue, Netflix reported a revenue of close to about $6.14 billion in the second quarter of 2020, and that's actually up from $4.9 billion in the second quarter of 2019, essentially representing a jump of close to 25% year over year. Now their operating income also exceeded to well over $1 billion to $1.3 billion in the second quarter of 2020, up from $700 million compared to the second quarter of 2019. So now, even though the company beat expectations when it comes down to the revenue, and the expected revenue was $6.08 billion and the company reported $6.14 billion, when we talk about the earnings per share, or the EPS, that's essentially the net income over the shares outstanding, the estimate was $1.81 per share, but they reported $1.59 per share in EPS in the second quarter of 2020, and that's a big miss for the company, and that's essentially what got priced into Netflix stock, and we saw a huge dive of close to 12.5% after hours. Now that was one of the factors why Netflix stock took a dive, but a much bigger factor was the forecasted growth for the company for the remainder of 2020. So when we talk about subscriber growth, in the second quarter of 2020, the company added over 10 million paid subscribers compared to just 2.7 million in the second quarter of 2019. And not only that, in the first half of the year, in the first 6 months, Netflix added over a whopping 26 million paid subscribers compared to the 28 million subscribers that they achieved in all of 2019. So this chart right here shows the exponential growth for the company in terms of the subscribers, but you can see where the company forecasts the Q3 and the remainder of 2020, and it's kind of leveling off and flattening over the next few months. Now this is no surprise because Netflix has seen a surge in the number of users because of COVID-19. That being said, they do foresee a much slower growth remainder of 2020, which makes perfect sense, and they expect to add only 2.5 million paid subscribers against the estimated 5.27 million paid net additions in the third quarter of 2020. So the missed report on the EPS and the much slower growth expected in the third and the fourth quarter of 2020 resulted in the stock price essentially taking a hit of close to 12.5% after hours. But regardless of these obstacles, the company is still profitable by reporting a net income of close to $720 million, up from $271 million in the second quarter of 2019. So now I'm going to go over some other important metrics and pieces of news that are going to affect Netflix stock moving forward. So the first one we're going to look into is going to be the ARPU, and that's essentially the average revenue per user. And this chart right here goes over their regional breakdown for the ARPU. Their ARPU remains highest in the US and Canada geographical breakdown with over $13.25, and it's also their biggest revenue driver in terms of the geographical region where most of the revenue is coming from, while other regions just lagging behind like Europe, Middle Eastern, Asia Pacific, and Latin America. Another thing to note from their earnings call is that their content launches, which represent Netflix's original content, they said they're going to have fewer series launches due to the halt in production because of COVID-19. So in 2021, we're going to see a fewer releases or launches in their original content. So that's obviously going to affect the retention rate and the subscriber growth for the company. But that being said, now we're going to jump over to the pattern and how it's been trading and identify those key support and resistance levels moving forward. So this right here again is going to be Netflix stock, and you can see this 5-minute candle that essentially dropped close to 12.5% all the way, trading from $530 per share to as low as $450 per share, giving us a drop of over 15% for that brief 5-minute period. And since then you can see that it's just been trading higher, essentially making its way back up, and this right here is the trend line along which it's been trading, right? So it's been finding that support, and it's just slowly and gradually just making its way back up to that level. So it'll be really interesting to see where Netflix stock opens tomorrow, because it's going to determine where the price goes moving forward, right? So if you were to go over to the daily chart, you can see how Netflix's stock has just been on a constant increase and on an ascending pattern, right? So it's been going up as far as September of 2019. You can see the growth has been really, really incredible, going up over 127% in less than a year. This right here is kind of like the trend channel within which Netflix was trading up until more recently in June and July of 2020, when we saw a much exponential growth in the stock price, essentially jumping close to 30%. And we've seen very similar patterns for Amazon, Nvidia, some of those other tech companies, also Tesla, that has seen a significant growth in the prices in a very short period of time. So that being said, it did break out of this channel of kind of like the higher highs and higher lows, and essentially pushed up all the way to 576, which is going to be Netflix's all-time high. So if you were to kind of scroll down, you can see the 52-week range is as low as $252 with a high price of $575.37. So the weekly return right now sits at 3.87%. The monthly return sits just under 21%. Pre-month and the monthly are exactly almost the same. The 6-month return is at 55.5%, and year-to-date Netflix stock is up close to 63%. So that being said, if you were to pull up the RSI and the MACD and kind of hide these for a little bit, you can see that the RSI is trading at 67, close to the 70 level, which we've considered very overbought and overextended level. And then for the MACD, it's also kind of peaking out and showing signs of a minor reversal. Now, of course, this is not considering the huge drop. Right now, the pattern is essentially trading right around this level right here. So if you were to go over to the 4-hour chart, you guys will see that it's right around its 200-day moving average, which is going to be the blue line, and it's essentially pushed all the way down to that level. So the wick for this candle was right there. It touched that level and then it pushed up, right? And that's what we're seeing the stock price in the after hours trading, essentially trying to make its way back up. So that being said, the next support that we need to watch very closely from a technical standpoint is going to be right around here. And the reason I say that is because that has previously acted as some type of resistance. If you were to go back as far as June 23rd, that has been acting as a resistance. The stock essentially pushed up to that level and then sold off. And then when it finally broke out of that level, it essentially pulled back to revalidate that old resistance as being new support. So it essentially bounced off of that level and then eventually broke out even further. So that has previously acted as resistance and a near-term support. So that can potentially continue to act our near-term support moving forward going into tomorrow. Now the resistance is obviously going to be right here, which has previously acted as resistance as well. Essentially the stock broke below that level and then it kind of pushed up on the 4-hour chart. You guys can see that it broke below this $535 level, and then it pushed up to revalidate that resistance and then essentially sold off even further and hasn't been able to break out of that level ever since, right? So it's been just getting rejected at this $535 level, and then of course we saw this huge drop after the earnings call that came out today. Now that's kind of like the range within which I'm going to be watching Nflx stock. Right now I did jump in right after the earnings, and when it saw a huge drop of close to 12.5%, I got in with an average price of $469. So that being said, right now after hours it's trading at $483. So I will personally be keeping a close eye on these levels, the high point being $535 and the low point being $476, to see if either side do we see a breakout or a breakdown from these levels. Again, tomorrow is going to be really interesting to see where Nflx stock opens and how it trades throughout the day, how the pattern is interacting with these levels, and where the price action can potentially go. The all-time highs again sits at $575, which is going to be right around here, and then the more near-term resistance is here, the support is here. It's also getting validated at its 200-day moving average, which is going to be the blue line, which has also acted as previous support. You guys can see that it bounced off of those levels, and it has done that in the past as well. And this right here is of course the drop of COVID, and the stock essentially dove close to 25 to 30%, and it wasn't as severe as some of the other stocks that we've seen, because Nflx again is one of those stay-at-home stocks, because this company is able to take advantage of people being home, and as a result has seen a surge in the number of subscribers and users for their platform. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like. It really helps out with the channel. Also subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos related to investing and technical breakdowns. As always, happy investing, and I will see you guys in the next video.